This could be the hottest fight in UFC history. We have Mackenzie Dern taking on Amanda Ribas. This is a rematch from 5 years ago. A lot has changed over those 5 years, so we're going to go deep into the breakdown. We'll get you everything that you need to know. You won't want to miss it. Welcome to Fighting Stats, the ultimate channel for UFC fans who love statistics and betting breakdowns. I'm your host, Art C, and today I'll be getting you ready for the upcoming UFC fights. Here at Fighting Stats, we have exclusive UFC stats, not available anywhere else, giving us a huge edge over the sportsbooks that help us make money long term. Here at Fighting Stats, we also track how often they throw that left jab or that right hook from southpaw, how often they're moving back, or how much time is spent in side control versus full mount. We have all of that information, but that's not it. We pair that with our tape study here. We're going to go through the fights. We're going to watch for fighters' strengths, weaknesses, tendencies, and overall strategies to help you get prepared for the upcoming UFC fights. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome to Fighting Stats. Welcome back to Fighting Stats. I'm your host, Art C, and today we are breaking down the UFC Vegas main event between Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. As I said before, this is a rematch from over 5 years ago, but that was when Mackenzie Dern was very green in the UFC. A lot has changed in that fight, so let's see what's going on here. What we're going to do is we're going to go into the fighting stats. We'll go deep into the numbers, see what the stats tell us. I'll give you my prediction on how I see the fight going, and then we'll touch on our best bets, value bets, things like that. So let's get started here. We're pulling up our fighting stats tail of the tape here. We have Mackenzie Dern here on the blue side, Amanda Ribas on the red side there. Overall, Mackenzie Dern is going to show 8-5 in the UFC. Has not been updated, so she's actually 9-5 in the UFC. 50% of her wins coming from submission, 50% coming from decision. Of the 5 losses, 20% by KO and 60% by decision there. I think there's a no contest in there. On the Amanda Ribas side, 7-4 in the UFC, 14% by KO, 29% by submission, and 57% of her wins coming from decision. She has 4 UFC losses, 50% coming from KO and 50% by decision there. And then in terms of the physicals there, it looks like Mackenzie Dern going to be 1 inch taller, but Amanda Ribas going to have 3 inches of reach advantage. So we're going to start here on the offensive striking here for Mackenzie Dern. So 70% of her strikes going to be landing at a distance, 18% of them on the ground, and 11% of the strikes landed in the clinch. Overall, when she does target breakdown, she goes to the head at 88% of the time, 8% to the body, and only 4% towards the legs there. Overall striking accuracy, about 35% to the head, 74% to the body, and 91% leg kick accuracy. Average strikes thrown by round, pretty consistent, throwing about 39, 37, 42, 47, 40, and then round 5 goes down to 29. Average is about 16, 15, 18, and 18 strikes landed per round there. Does have 2 knockdowns, both of them coming in the first round, so something to keep a note of there. So if you're not familiar with Mackenzie Dern, she is a very high-level BJJ grappler, but she has been improving her striking here. So let's go into some of these numbers here. We have Amanda Lemos, the most recent fight there. Amanda Lemos very tricky on the feet. That one only being a 3-round fight. Only landing 36% of the strikes against Lemos in round 1, 33% in round 2, but up to 62% in round number 3. Jessica Andrade just under 50% there as well. Angela Hill was actually one of the better fights that she had in terms of striking wise. 54% significant strike accuracy in round 1, 44% in round 2, and then bumps up to 76 in round 3, 48 in round 4, and 90% in round 5. So decent showing there. If you go back and watch that fight, you do see some of the potential that Mackenzie Dern has. You can see that she's really been working on the boxing since she's got into it with Jason Perillo there. One thing I wanted to highlight here is not a lot of leg kicks. She's not a big leg kicker. She will just strike with mostly with her hands there. And then again, she is a BJJ artist, so when she does get down to the ground there, you can see that she does land some ground strikes there. So she landed 24 of 28 against Angela Hill there in round number 3 on the ground, 19 of 22 against in round 5 against Angela Hill there. So be aware that when she does get down to the ground, she can land some ground strikes. Defensively, though, let's go over to the defensive striking. 81% of the strikes landed going to be at a distance on Mackenzie Dern, 14% in the clinch, and 5% on the ground. Overall target defense against, 71% of the strikes landed towards the head, 17 towards the body, and 12% towards the leg. Head strike accuracy, not bad at 35% head strike accuracy, 77 towards the body, and 92% towards the legs. And if you take a look here in terms of strikes absorbed by rounds, you can see that it does trend upwards. So 16 strikes absorbed in round 1, but then it goes up to 17 in round 2, 24 in round 3, 33 in round 4, and then drops off to 16 in round 5. So it does look like her striking defense gets a little bit worse as the fight goes on there. And she has been knocked down 6 times. So 1 in round 1 and 5 in round 2. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out there. However, of 4 out of those 6 were coming to Jessica Andrade. She did get knocked down in round 2 against Amanda Lemos as well. So that's the last 2 out of the 3 fights. She has 5 out of 6 knockdowns in there. So something to keep an eye out there. I do think it's somewhat of the opponents that she's facing, but again, something to monitor there. Overall, significant strike accuracy against, 49% of strikes landed against. And again, she's seen some leg kicks there, some decent leg kickers. Yan Shannan, Tisha Torres, decent leg kickers. Let's move on to the Amanda Ribas offensive striking. So she's going to be a striker mainly. 85% of her strikes landing going to be at a distance, 9% on the ground, and 5% on the clinch. In terms of her target breakdown, she does go to the head at 76% of the time, goes to the body 13% of the time, and legs at 10% of the time. Striking accuracy around 32% head strike accuracy, 55% body strike accuracy, and 80% leg kick accuracy. In terms of her offensive striking, it does go up as the rounds go on there. So on average, she averages 14 strikes landed, 38 strikes thrown in round number 1, and then it pops up to 51 strikes thrown in round number 2, 19 strikes landed, 77 strikes thrown in round number 3, 37 strikes landed in round number 3, and then it drops off in round number 4, comes back down to about 10 strikes landed in round number 4, and then up 24 strikes landed in round number 5. So not a huge sample size of 5-round fights for Amanda Ribas, but something to keep an eye on. The last fight there we have is Rose Namajunas going 5 rounds, so something to keep an eye on. But again, on her 3-round fights, she does trend up in terms of volume as the fight goes on there. In terms of leg kicks, we did talk about the leg kick accuracy at 80%, goes to the legs about 10%, but you can see here decent leg kick numbers here against Rose Namajunas, throwing about 5 to 6 leg kicks per round, landing there. Luana Pinheiro, she goes 5 of 10 in round number 1, 14 of 20 in round number 2, 3 of 7 in round number 3. Macy Barber lands about 7 there. So the leg kicks are a big part of her striking arsenal, something to keep an eye on because, again, Mackenzie Dern does not throw many of those leg kicks, as we just talked about. Well, let's go over to our red defensive striking here. Come on. Pause. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go over to our red defensive striking. So defensively, Amanda Ribas, 80% of the strikes landed against are going to be at a distance, 8% in the clinch, and 12% on the ground. Target breakdown against, 82% of the strikes landed against towards the head, 14 towards the body, and 4% leg kicks. So not a big leg kicker in terms of strikes absorbed. Defensively, 34% head strike defense, 57% body strike defense, and 77% leg kick defense. So decent numbers there. In terms of strikes absorbed by round, 14 strikes landed in round 1, 17 absorbed in round 2, 16 in round 3, 7 in round 4, and 25 in round 5. So pretty consistent in terms of strikes absorbed. Only has been knocked down once, I believe, and that was coming against Verna Jandiroba back in October of 2021. What else to touch on? Overall, 40% significant strike against. So decent numbers there on the Ribas side. A little bit worse, I guess, on the Dern side in terms of career-wise. But again, Mackenzie Dern going to be a BJJ artist. So let's go into the offensive grappling, really what we want to see here. So In terms of average takedowns by round, Mackenzie Dern, she is a BJJ artist, but she's not the best grappler. So she attempts 1.4 takedowns attempted in round number 1, 1.2 in round number 2, 2.5 in round number 3, 2 in round number 4, and 1.7 in round number 5. So she does average at least a takedown attempt in each round. Successful at point 0.2 though in round number 1, 0 takedowns in round number 2, 0.4 in round number 3, and 0.7 in rounds 4 and 5 there. Total control time by round goes up as well. And again, we talked about some of the knockdowns. She did knock down Angela Hill, which was kind of impressive considering the veteran that Angela Hill is there. But again, she does have some decent control numbers when she does get the takedown. So she got Amanda Lemos down, 165 seconds of control from there in rounds number 1 and 3. Against Angela Hill, 188 seconds of control, 203 seconds. Normally, especially in the tape there, when Mackenzie Dern gets on top, she prioritizes the position over damage, over submission. She's not going to lose the position. She really wants to control it. So normally one takedown or any top time for Mackenzie Dern and the round is over. So definitely something to think about going forward with these fights there, because again, Mackenzie Dern, the level of grappling that she has there. Defensively, we'll touch on. I don't think that there's going to be much defensive takedowns here, but we'll talk about it there. You can see not a lot of people trying to take down Mackenzie Dern. On average, 0.1 takedowns attempted against, 0.3 takedowns in round number 2 there. Overall, her takedown defense is not great. Overall, she's seen 7 takedowns against. 5 of them have landed there. So again, because her BJJ is so good, she's really not training takedown defense. A lot of the time, some of these takedowns are counted because she's the one, she'll get into the clinch, she'll actually jump guard and pull the opponent down and then work a sweep. Sometimes those count as takedowns, so keep that in mind there. So on the offensive grappling side for Amanda Ribas, though, she has worked in some takedowns in her UFC career. Average is 1.4 takedowns attempted in round number 1, 1.2 in round number 2, and 1.4 in round number 3. Averaging 0.9, 0.5, and 0.6 takedowns landed. Again, I don't really know if she's going to go for takedowns here. Again, going back to that first fight there, she did go actually 2 of 2 in takedowns on Mackenzie Dern. Again, but that was Mackenzie Dern, I think, pulling guard for most of the time. Amanda Ribas did get some control time, 73 seconds of control in round number 1, 24 seconds around control in round number 2. But I do believe, again, that was Mackenzie Dern pulling guard, counting those as takedowns for Amanda Ribas. So interesting to note those takedown props on DraftKings. Defensively, though, in terms of takedowns attempted or takedowns against, she only allows 0.1 takedown in round number 1, 0 in round number 2, and 0.3 takedowns in round number 3, and then spikes up to 1 takedown in round number 4. Again, the sample size for rounds 4 and 5 pretty small for Amanda Ribas, but basically something to keep note of there. She has seen 27 takedown attempts against. Only 4 of them have been successful. Rose Namajunas got her down in round number 4. Verna Jandiroba got her down in round number 1 there, and then Randa Marcos got her down there as well. So definitely decent takedown numbers for Amanda Ribas. In terms of the fighting stats time breakdown, Mackenzie Dern, you can see 52% of the fighting stats that we monitored was spent standing, 34% of the time was spent on the ground, 11% in the clinch, and 3% attacking takedowns. So that goes in terms of what we know there. In terms of the top time, you can see it's pretty balanced, actually. So 25% of the time she's in half guard, 19% of the time she's in side control, 23% in full mount, and 21% in back mount there. Rarely is Mackenzie Dern, well, on bottom, but you can see when she is on bottom, 39% of the time she's in full guard, 26% in half guard, 19% in side control. So again, that's mostly from Mackenzie Dern pulling guard, so keep that in mind. On the Amanda Ribas side here, we have 57% of the fight tape that we watched was spent standing, 40% was on the ground. When she is on, let's go to the bottom here, 59% of the bottom time was spent in full guard, 37% was spent in half guard. So does a decent job of keeping the opponents in front of her, not letting her get too dominant positions there. Moving over to our fighting stats, striking tendencies here, you can see Mackenzie Dern, 57% single strike rate, 8% 1-2 rate, goes to the jab at 32%, so pretty decent jabbing numbers, has a kick there in 15% of her strikes. Likes the jab, likes to stand orthodox, so she'll throw the jab at 32% of the time, throws that lead hook, the 3 at 10% of the time, throws the 1-2 at 8% of the time. So 50% of the strikes right there is the 1, 3, and the 1-2. Does go the rear high kick at 4%, and then the rear hook at 3% there as well. So, and again, her striking has improved as the UFC career has gone on, and we'll take a look at that shortly. On the Amanda Ribas side, very significant single strike rate at 93%. So a lot of single strikes, not a ton of combos. When she is striking, she goes the jab at 38% of the time, the straight 2 at 19% of the time, the lead low kick at 8% of the time, and the lead hook at 8% of the time as well. So you can see all the top 6 or 7 strikes that she likes to throw are the 1, 2, 3, and all those kicks there. A lot of single strikes. So keep that in mind. She's not really sitting down on a lot of her strikes, and I don't really think that she will in this fight either. So let's get into the predictions, the fight predictions here. So again, you have to go back and watch the first fight there, Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Ribas. Again, that was about 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. Mackenzie Dern, pretty new. I think that was the third fight for her in the UFC. You can see here she lands 9% of significant strikes in round number 1, 18% strikes in round number 2, and 13% of strikes in round number 3. So those are pretty horrible striking numbers there for Mackenzie Dern. But, she was overweight at times. She was missing weight. She wasn't really taking it seriously. I do see a change. You can definitely see a difference in her physique in terms of what she started and then where she is right now. She's been working with Jason Perillo, so her boxing's gotten a lot better, and it comes and goes. And I'll be honest, so I go back and I watch the Angela Hill fight. She actually looked very good in the Angela Hill fight. Sometimes it's the power of the opponent coming back at her, right? Angela Hill doesn't have a ton of power, so she can walk through some of the punches, and some of the opponents, like Angela Hill, have to worry about the takedowns, so the hands are a little bit lower. She can sort of level change and then throw the overhand where it lands, because some fighters are just too scared of getting taken down, so they keep the hands low so that they can, down block, things like that. So keep that in mind there. Though the main thing for me in terms of the first fight, the biggest takeaway was I thought that Amanda Ribas didn't want anything to do with the ground of Mackenzie Dern. So, Amanda Ribas has some submissions of her own. She does like to work some takedowns of her own. But in that fight against Mackenzie Dern, she wanted nothing to do with it. Anytime when Mackenzie Dern was on the ground, she let her back up. The only time she went down to the ground was when Dern pulls her down to the ground, pulls guard and things like that. And when she's on top on ground, you can see Amanda Ribas not looking to pass, not looking to strike, really keeping the arms in T-Rex. Really playing safe, because Mackenzie Dern's looking to sweep, to attack a submission. So Amanda Ribas played it pretty safe on top, and I would assume that that's probably going to be the case here in this rematch. So if at any point that Amanda Ribas gets on top, it's going to be probably pretty safe. Again, hands in on the inside, not really looking to ground and pound, not really to pass, to mount. She'd probably get if she did get to mount, she'd probably get swept and things like that. So I think she's content with riding out the minutes in top time. If she does get top time, it's going to be Mackenzie Dern having to look for that sweep. So the fight will start standing. Overall, I do favor Amanda Ribas' striking, but sometimes I feel that Amanda Ribas can throw strikes and just throw volumes just to throw volume. Like, she's a little bit wild on the feet. She's entering and she's throwing multiple strikes, and she's trying to create volume, but those are the perfect opportunities for Mackenzie Dern to try to level change, to get in on the legs, to try to get a takedown there. But I find with Mackenzie Dern, a lot of her takedowns are coming from trips, from clinches, on the fence sort of thing. You'll notice that when you get into a clinch, normally you want to pummel for double underhooks. Mackenzie Dern is not looking for that. She goes for double overhooks. That's really to just hold on to her opponent. You see most of her opponents are trying to push off, get space. Mackenzie Dern uses those overhooks to try to get for a trip out there, like an outside trip, and get into the takedown. If she can't get it again, she'll pull guard and get the fight down to the ground. Now, Amanda Ribas in the clinch, though, she's actually pretty good. She uses a lot of those trips and throws herself. So I can see, especially in that first fight there, I can see Mackenzie Dern getting to the clinch, getting those overhooks, trying for an outside trip, and then Amanda Ribas, reversing it or somehow ending on top, or Mackenzie Dern can't get it, so she pulls guard. So I can see some minutes here from Amanda Ribas on top. But again, I don't think she's going to do much with that time on top. I think she plays it very safe on top. But if she doesn't, or for whatever reason Mackenzie Dern actually gets the takedown or manages to get on top or reversal or anything like that, I do think that it's probably the round. It's Mackenzie Dern. She does have extensive good control on the ground. When she does get you down, that's usually the round. Not a lot of girls can get up from underneath Mackenzie Dern. So keep that in mind there. It's one takedown and the round's over. But unfortunately for Mackenzie Dern, her wrestling isn't the greatest, and I think Amanda Ribas has her beat in the judo or the trips and throws there. So this one's a little bit tricky. It really comes down to how good you think Mackenzie Dern has improved since the first fight, right? I'm not going to go back and see the first fight and say automatically Amanda Ribas is going to win this fight. I do think that it's going to be pretty close. I think Mackenzie Dern is going to make it a brawl. But I'm not completely impressed with her striking, Mackenzie Dern. I'm not impressed with Amanda Ribas as well. I think that Amanda Ribas can give away some of the striking because, again, the volume. Mackenzie Dern can create some chaos, get the fight down to the ground or into the clinch. If the fight were to remain, if you were to tell me that the fight remains standing for the 5 complete rounds, I definitely favor Amanda Ribas in this. But I think that Mackenzie Dern does have that grappling upside. Anytime the fight does go down to the ground, then she's going to win minutes, control. That could be the round. So all Mackenzie Dern really needs is 3 takedowns in this 5-round fight to win the fight. So that sort of has me hesitant to lay the juice on Amanda Ribas, especially considering that Amanda Ribas is a pretty big favorite in this fight. So in terms of the numbers, I looked at it briefly. There aren't any props out at the time of this filming, so keep that in mind. But I do think that the line is a little bit wide for Mackenzie Dern. I think that, again, she has a lot of upside. I think a lot of people are going to see the recency bias. The first fight there, they're going to lean on the Amanda Ribas side, and I get it. But I think the odds are a little bit wide. I think that you'll be able to find some live betting spots as well if you take Mackenzie Dern. I think we saw some plus 200 Mackenzie Dern out there. So that's probably the way I would go if I took a side. I haven't played a side yet. I've been bouncing back and forth. I am concerned with the counter grappling of Ribas. I do think that Mackenzie Dern can get in there. I think she can clinch. I'm just worried about Ribas ending up on top, or Mackenzie Dern going for the trip and then Ribas ending up on top, and then again, because she plays it so safe a lot of this time, in a 5-round fight, she might get the takedown and then spend 3 minutes on top, and then Mackenzie Dern, things like that. So Mackenzie Dern to submit is live. She can submit really anybody, right? And she's been a lot stronger, and you can see her physique has really changed. She's been packing on a lot of muscle there. So submission would not surprise me for Mackenzie Dern. Even a decision, because of top time, would not surprise me. A Ribas decision wouldn't surprise me as well. And honestly, Dern KO is kind of live. I know that she doesn't have any KO lines, so that line's probably going to be pretty astronomical. But it is a 5-round fight, and considering Amanda Ribas wants to fight for the 5 rounds, she's not going to be looking for takedowns. She want to keep the fight standing. She can be a little bit defensively flawed, Amanda Ribas. She can get hit and clipped. And Mackenzie Dern, if she does load up on the right hand, I can see her landing damage. I don't know if it's going to translate to a full-on knockout. Maybe it's a club and sub sort of thing, or maybe it's a knockdown into a takedown, things like that. So keep that in mind there. But yeah, overall, I lean. My pick is going to be Amanda Ribas, but in terms of betting wise, in terms of the value, I think it's going to be dog or pass for me. I'll probably get to a side, or might try to live bet this. But if I do make any plays, though, I'll post them over to patreon.com/FightingStats. That's where I post all of our bets, our breakdowns, our best bets, things like that. So check us out there. You can join for free. Check us there. Otherwise, if you like this type of content or like this type of breakdown, let me know in the comments below so that we can continue doing this. We have all these Fighting Stats numbers there, so we'll go deep into that. We'll send you a copy if you want as well. So my name is Art C. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Fighting Stats. Thanks for watching. Well, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Art C. If you like this type of content, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe. You'll get notified anytime we put out new content. In 2024, we are up over 118 units. That's $58,000 at $500 units. We are using our exclusive UFC stats, not available anywhere else. I'm telling you, it gives us a huge edge over our competition, helps us make money long term. So come join us today, patreon.com/FightingStats. That's where we put all of our bets, our best bets, our shoot for the moon parlays. You can visit us also on our website, FightingStats.com, for all of our stats there. We have a lot of new tools coming out. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.